House, Illinois Realtors Vice President of Professional Development, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the first webinar in a series of 3 in which Illinois Realtors is partnering with Freddie Mac. These webinars will focus on giving you resources to serve your clients and tools to grow your business on several topics, such as affordable loan products, sustainable homeownership, market trends, and more. I'd like to thank Freddie Mac for working with the association to bring this to our members. And now I'll introduce our presenters for today. We have Carmen Mercado, Senior Affordable Lending Manager, and Sandra Heidinger, Affordable Lending Manager. So I'll turn it back over to them to get us started. Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Young. My name is Carmen Mercado. I have worked with Freddie Mac now for 2.5 years, and very excited to have my colleague Sandra Heidinger, who's going to be co-facilitating this presentation with us today. The idea of this presentation is to bring you knowledge about the resources, products, and tools that are available to you as a realtor. Before we get started, I do need to pause and just let you know that this session is being recorded. And as an attendee, if you decide to stay on, just know that it is being recorded and that's your permission for this session to be recorded. If for any reason you are not comfortable with the session being recorded, you're more than welcome to not participate. But we hope you do because we have a lot of great information. So that's just my disclaimer. And now we're going to have some fun. As I said, our role here is to look at how do we really lead home ownership in the future, what does that look like today, and really how can we empower you as a real estate professional to be able to work with your current customers and past customers in helping them not only become homeowners, but really be able to preserve their home and become sustainable homeowners. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started. What I wanted to do is let you know that at the end of the session, what we are looking to accomplish is that you leave here thirsty for knowledge and engage with Freddie Mac even further so that you can access these resources not only during this time, but throughout your whole entire business platform. With me, as I said, we have Sandra that will be joining me during this presentation. So about Freddie Mac, a lot of you may be asking, well, why is Freddie Mac reaching out to real estate agents? The reality is that we do not sell directly to real estate agents, or we don't work with lenders, with the buyer directly. We work with our lender partners. But Freddie Mac's mission is more critical now than ever. It really is to promote liquidity, stability, and affordability in the housing market, and it was chartered in 1970. It was a community mission that was looking to stabilize communities, expand credit responsibly, and make sure that we were being able to put homeowners and make that dream of homeownership possible. More than ever, I think our mission is critical, and we really encourage you to work with Freddie Mac and to understand what we offer so that you too can help us really with the outreach to those that want to become homeowners as a trusted advisor in your community. What we do at Freddie Mac is, although we do not lend directly to the buyer, your buyers, when you're showing them properties, we do impact your business every single day. You show them the property, the buyer works with the lender to secure that mortgage, and then the lender will take those loans and sell them over to Freddie Mac. This allows the lenders to continue lending. This gives the liquidity that the lenders need so that then Freddie Mac takes those loans and they find an investor out in the secondary market. That's what creates the liquidity. If a lender did not have access to the liquidity that Freddie Mac offers, they would have to stop lending once they met their capacity. So although we do not impact your business, or you don't see the impact, I should say, every single day, we actually do impact your business. We're just a silent partner at the behind the scenes. We also know very clearly that this is an entire housing ecosystem and that it takes more than one portion of the industry to really make the change and impact the communities that need it the most, which is really looking at that low down payment options, and we'll talk about that in detail as we go along. But we work directly with our lenders, and Sandra, who's an affordable lending manager, manages many of the lender relationships, and we know that that's an important part of our role because they are our direct customer. We also work with housing finance agencies. We'll talk a little bit about that throughout the presentation. We work with non-for-profit housing agencies, and we also work with the real estate community, such as the Illinois Association of Realtors, which we're doing today, and that's my role and responsibility within Freddie Mac. How do we do that? We go out and we put together community events for the realtor community, and we do that through insights, education, really bringing to the forefront mortgage products and the business solutions that you can incorporate into your business. We're going to go through a lot of those today. There's going to be a lot of information, so get excited, take copious notes, but don't be afraid. This presentation will be available so that you can take a look and refer to it if you forget anything. But we want you to be excited to engage with Freddie Mac because we are a part of your business and we need you as well. So I wanted to start out, most of the time what we like to do is kind of start out with the state of the housing market from a macro level, just to kind of set the foundation for the business solutions that we'll be discussing throughout the day. My colleague, Sandra, will be talking more about the analysis and market data from a micro level to Illinois and some of the neighboring states. With that, what we're looking at from a macro level, and this is from our chief economist, really when the COVID-19 pandemic is unprecedented. No one expected it to happen. The economy shut down. It has been one of the greatest challenges that we have really faced over a decade. If you've been in real estate for a while, you know that we went through the recession in 2008 and the housing bubble. But since March of 2020, COVID-19 really has changed the world the way we see it. And when you look at unemployment rates, it has been at historical levels than many, many years before. Unemployment rate is going to play a role in housing and how we look at that and how do we recover. But even with the pandemic, there is still a really optimistic view of the economic rebound for the businesses as businesses start to reopen. And we know that that's different depending on what state we live in. That's very different for all. But with the focus on reopening and really looking at those opportunities for you to continue to help buyers achieve homeownership. We do see from a housing perspective, the inventory to continue to be scarce. That is not something that you're going to most likely be a surprise to you. The inventory was scarce even prior to the actual session, but now you're also going to see that Freddie Mac's response has been one where we're trying to make sure that we're responding to COVID-19 based on homeownership preservation. We also look at the stimulus package in terms of the CARES Act, and we feel that that will be a mute to the impact of the economy. You have individuals that are collecting unemployment because they have been displaced from their employment or furloughed. Therefore, what's happening is that they're going to go ahead and they're receiving an employment rate that may be even higher than their current income. So these are really things to keep in mind as we move forward because it may kind of really mute the economic impact that we're seeing. I know that I'm going to take a pause for a second because I believe I may have some chat that may be coming in that I need to respond to. We want to make sure that everybody has a good experience during this webinar. So I'm just going to take 1 minute and take a look at what responses I may be having in terms of questions. Monica, are you seeing any questions? I'm going to pause. I just want to make sure that if we have any questions coming in that we address them.
Yes, I am looking at the chat. A few people are having some audio issues, and I've been assisting them via the chat. So if you guys are having audio issues, just hover over the toolbar. You'll see a circle icon with 3 dots. Just click on that. It will give you the audio connection. You can either connect to your computer audio, or you could get the call-in number to dial in. So those are the questions that we're getting, Carmen. I am watching the Q&A and the chat box. So
excellent, thank you. Just what this is all about education, and we want to make sure that you do get the best out of this session as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. When we looked at the housing landscape, the GSEs really responded with immediate action in really looking at the stay-at-home orders and how that was going to impact housing. Staying at home and home has completely taken a whole different meaning, as I'm sure you all know. and we look at the annual rate in terms of home sales, they have fallen for the second quarter, but home sales, although they may be slower to bounce back if potential buyers don't come to the market, the one thing that's really different is that 2008 is that a lot of homeowners have equity built up in their house. House prices most likely will decline, maybe at a larger than we expect, but with the forbearance and foreclosure mitigation programs that are out there, I think we'll be able to see a lesser impact. Again, it's a crystal ball. Who knows exactly what will happen? It's been a very fluid environment, so I just want to say that with a caveat to that. When we also take a look at the home sales expected to regain momentum. So although it may have a slow comeback, when you look at the 30-year mortgage interest rate, it's, historically low. And it feels like we've been saying that forever, Sandra, right? It's been historically low forever. But that is actually the truth, that it has been historically low, and individuals may be in a position to refinance now, which may be able to put them in a better position from a sustainable home ownership. When you look at the building of the equity, this slide, I like this slide because it kind of shows you here 2006, 2008, the equity was much lower. We're seeing that there's a rise in equity, again, helping homeowners who may be in a higher bearing interest rate loan to access a refinance option. Again, we know that some individuals may not be able to because of their impact with COVID-19, a reduction of income, or maybe loss of income. But that's not the full picture, and that's really what this shows, that there is some equity. So with that, I want to pass it along to Sandra to kind of dive in a little deeper into the local market. Sandra has years of experience in the industry. She's based out of Chicago, and you'll really enjoy the information that she's about to share. So Sandra, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carmen. And yeah, I mean, it's really exciting to see that much equity. That's huge. And especially I know you as real estate professionals, I mean, I'm sure you keep in touch with your former folks, right? What a great way to still keep in touch. It's like you've got equity, you could refi to take advantage of some of that. So with that, let's dive in a bit here and talk about some of the different market information. So we've looked at, of course, Illinois as a whole, as well as a couple of the surrounding states, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And as we see that, as we look at this, we see this is just looking at the population across, and it's pretty much looking at the millennial to the lower end of the Gen Xers. As well. So there's quite a bit of population and quite a bit of opportunity here as well. There's a slide a little bit later on where we've actually evaluated this number, this group of population to see how much is actually mortgage ready. So wait till you see that. You're going to be very pleasantly surprised as we look at that. With the next slide, as we look at the income of this population, we don't have, could you go ahead one more? There, okay. We should be on the average income comparison. Let's see. Okay, that's all right. Go ahead, one. We'll talk it the way you've got it here. So the minority shares, we look at the population growth, we see that the majority of the population within the various states that are contiguous here, we've got, it's more heavily white non-minority. And then you've got the percentage rate of the African American, Asian, and Hispanic populations as compared to the United States. With the next slide. You could, okay. Within this population, the one thing that we see is how many people are getting FHA mortgages. And we'll see another slide comparing how many are getting FHA versus conventional mortgages. So one thing that we notice here, and of course this data is all based on the latest HMDA data, And this is all loans that have been closed in past. And this is from the HMDA data that's reported from our lender partners when they deliver loans to us. We see a lot of the minority folks are the ones that are getting FHA loans. And there's nothing wrong with FHA loans, but we're going to see in a couple slides what some of the average FICO scores are and what the average incomes are. And it's like, why is that? Because, again, nothing wrong with FHA, but if there's another product or a better product that's out there for your client to be able to utilize that can save them some money, you as a real estate professional, I'm sure you would want to be aware of it, right? And we're going to talk about that in a moment. So just looking at the disparity of the conventional, FHA, in the next slide, I believe, will be the conventional, who's getting those. And you're going to see the majority of conventional are more the non-minority. So why is that? And you know, in the industry, the one thing that we look at is just people's mindset. A lot of mindset is like, okay, if I'm either working with a first-time home buyer or an LMI borrower, then I have to go FHA. And that is not the case. Do you know what the average FICO score is for an FHA loan? Now, on a national basis, the average on a national basis is between 675 and 680. That's huge. And that's very much in the realm of why not go with one of our low down payment products that can help them get in much easier, as well as save them money over the long term.
Sandra, you know, I'm so glad that you said that, because the reality is that, you know, for a while post-crisis, right, FHA was the low down payment option that was available. But that has changed, which is why we're really focusing on making sure that we're doing these outreach and educational programs, because I think it's a knee-jerk reaction sometimes. If you ask someone, well, if I need a low down payment option, what kind of loan? VA loan, of course, comes up, but the next one really is FHA. And what we're going to show you is that there's a better option out there for many of your borrowers. So thank you for saying that, Sandra.
Of course. And what's our next slide? So here we go with our average incomes here. So the average incomes really across the states, across, again, Illinois and the contiguous Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, is around 80 to 100,000. And of course, we're looking at that, and that says average income. Okay, now when we're working with a lot of folks that are the LMI borrowers or that first-time home buyer, that a lot of times could be like our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, the EMTs, etc. Do you think they're making that kind of money in a lot of these areas? Probably not. And these first responders, look at our first responders, and especially now in this COVID area, you know, where a lot of us have been, you know, housebound, if you will, shelter in place. These first responders, think about the people that are delivering your groceries, all of that. Do you think they're making this kind of money? But yet they still have that want, that need to be able, they want to buy a home. And that, again, is where it's so important for us to understand what, you know, who these people are and those products that are available out there in the marketplace for them. Next slide. And we see opportunity here. Now, through the Midwest here, you know, the Midwest has always been pretty conservative, and we do see a lot of those being homeowners, right? But we also see that there is a rental gap here. Now, this is a very high level. If we were to take this and do a deeper dive within to see the different minorities and the breakdown in the gap, we all recognize there's a huge gap in homeownership between white homeownership and minority homeownership, and especially in the African American homeownership space. In that space, it's probably around 30% gap between white homeownership and African American homeownership. In the Hispanic space, it's around 25%. So it's still not huge. I mean, it's still not low, but I mean, it's a lot there. And how do we close those gaps? And it is all about education, right? Education and informing your clients what is available to them to assist in that making homeownership a reality. Next, please. Average FICOs, again, going to the fact of this, the Midwest is very conservative for the most part, and you see above average what the FICO score. You see the average across the United States is 694, and then you've got Illinois at 702, 700 with Michigan, Minnesota 729, 750. So you're all in the 700s, and again, that's average, right? So look at all the possibilities there for your clients to be able to take advantage of our low down payment mortgage. And with that, I'm going to turn it over back over to Ms. Carmen to talk about some of the more demographics around the mortgage-ready folks, the changing face of our borrowers.
Sandra, and I wasn't a great Vanna White there because I moved forward to the next slide a little too soon. So that's the beauty of doing these sessions live because we get this fantastic interaction, and we do this normally in person, Sandra, so it's good to see you on video at least and be able to do this. So thank you. I know that's a lot of data, and Monica, thank you for monitoring the questions. But we will provide this presentation to make available to Young after the presentation is done so that you, as I mentioned earlier, we are recording it. We want to make sure that you are able to really look back and hear, some of the data that you want to leverage. So let me talk about the changing face of the borrower. So you may ask yourself, just full disclosure, I sold real estate since 2002, so I really tend to wear my realtor hat at Freddie Mac, which is why I'm responsible with Monica and my colleague Marlena for the realtor outreach. So understanding for me the data is how do you leverage this in your business, right? At the end of the day, we want to do goodwill and good business. So as a real estate practitioner, you're looking for ways to understand the data and how does this impact your business? What can you do with this information? And that's what I'm hoping to kind of weave in. What Sandra kind of shared, right, was showing you the FICO scores, showing you the opportunities, and that really says that there are individuals out there that want to purchase homes and that you are the trusted advisor that's going to make that happen for them. But what we also want to take a look at is, and Sandra covered some of this as well, is where are the demographics of those first-time home buyers? What's going to be driving that growth? And on this slide, what you see is the household formations. Again, understanding and disclaimer, this is 2019 data based on the Joint Center of Housing and Urban Studies. But we do know that COVID-19 happened, so we will have to wait to see the impact on pre-COVID, post-COVID, I should say, on these numbers. But overall, what you're looking at is the household formations are projected around roughly about 2019, we're about 1.2 million. When you look at the millennials that are living at home, you have about 25% of millennials. Just for fun, if you're a participant that has a millennial or millennials living at home, feel free to add that into your chat. It makes it a little bit more interactive when we can engage with you this way. But if you have millennials that are living at home, the good news is that 49.8 million are actually projected by 2035, which is just around the corner, to actually form their own households. So these are individuals that are going to move out, whether it's on their own, whether it's to rent or purchase, or whether they're coexisting maybe with friends and family. A household formation is they leave your nest, right, and they're forming their own household. When you look at the minority share of household formations, you see that the growth is projected to be about 75% growth within the minority household formations. That's huge when you look at that data, because what it tells you is that we need to look at the diverse community and make sure that we're reaching out to them and training them and educating them on the opportunity to become homeowners and really giving them access to the data and the tools and the resources that you're going to hear about today, and there are many other great programs out there as well. When you look at the aging population, we're an aging America. They're projected to grow to about 31 million. And we also see that a lot of individuals are deciding to age at home, which also impacts you individually on the realtor side every single day, and is also contributing to the lack of inventory. When you look at the diversity, I don't want to look at the diversity just to mention the diversity. What I want to show you is the growth and the opportunities within each of these diverse group segments. So we know the first-time homebuyer, depending on the NAR study, averages between 33 and 36 years old. So let's take a look at that particular kind of column and demographics. When you look at the comparison from 2010 to 2018, you want to see what you look here is where is that growth coming from? The first-time home buyer growth, right? So when you look at the demographic and the population, you see the darker blue here shows an increase within the Hispanic community that is increasing within this age group. You also look here at the orange one. It's a Black African-American community, also an increase within this age group. And you will see the same if you move up to the Asian American non-Hispanic population as well. So within the age bracket, which is really driving home ownership for first-time home buyers, the growth is really coming from the diverse market segments. So really important to know in terms of how you're reaching out, educating the consumers and first-time home buyers. Sandra, this slide you and me like when we're in person, we talk about this. So for the men in the room, do not take offense, but single females are really kicking it here. They're 18% buying homes while they're single. Males have increased. I believe last year NAR had it at about 7 to 8%. Now 2019 was 10%. So definitely there's a little fierce competition happening there. But what does this mean? When I look at this from a realtor lens, what I say is, okay, where am I marketing? And am I missing a market? Is there an opportunity for me to make sure that I'm reaching out to obviously all buyers, but am I reaching out and do I have an opportunity to really look at where I can educate more single females who are already looking for homeownership on their own? The other thing on this slide that I love to point out is that 78% of the down payment sources for first-time home buyers actually comes from savings. A lot of people find that surprising. And I guess, Sandra, if you look at the 25% that are millennials that are still living at home, you can see how they save because they're living at home, right? So that it makes sense that their down payment resources are actually coming from the savings. Others, 24% are coming from gifts of friends and relatives, which is also something that Freddie Mac's products do allow is for gifts, and Sandra will talk about that in a little bit. So this is another quick snapshot of first-time home buyers. 33% of borrowers are actually first-time home buyers. This is 2019 data into 2020. And when you look at first-time home buyers and break that down even further, 52% of those buyers fall within that age group that we were looking at the slide before, between the ages of 30 and 39. When you look at the ages of 29 or younger, 88% of buyers fell within that category. Again, interesting because sometimes it's demystifying our perception of whether or not millennials or even younger generations are interested in purchasing a home. So really good data. Again, just changing your mindset as to where you can reach homeowners. Sandra, you kind of talked to this a little bit. This is another quick snapshot of how many are mortgage ready. Again, disclaimer, pre-COVID, we'll have to take a look at how these numbers are impacted post-COVID. But when we look at mortgage ready, what we're looking at is individuals that are credit visible. That means they're using credit, they have open lines of credit, they're paying their debt in time, they don't have a debt-to-income ratio higher than 25, their FICO scores, like Sandra mentioned, is 620 or better. So you see the definition there, but really what you're seeing on the slide is the opportunity. So over totally pre-COVID, 37 million of the total population is actually mortgage ready. If they were to apply for a loan today based on this criteria and this definition, most likely will go ahead and move forward and be able to secure a loan. 24 millennials are actually mortgage ready, and then you see the breakdown of the demographics within the Asian, Hispanic, and African American communities. So these are great opportunities and niches for you to learn how do I work with a diverse group of buyers from millennials to ethnic makeup so that you can actually help them achieve homeownership. Mortgage Week is the opposite of Mortgage Ready, but what I want to point out here is Mortgage Week doesn't necessarily mean that there are delinquencies or that there is high levels of student debt. What Mortgage Week could mean in many cases is that they're not using credit in a way that is making them credit visible. So this is a great opportunity for educating younger millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y, of saying you need to use credit, you need to build credit so that you can be credit visible and be able to secure a loan. So what we wanted to do is, so we set the stage for kind of the information about what the U.S. looks like, where the opportunities are coming from, and more than anything, really a clear picture that there is a big population out there that are mortgage ready and able to go out with you so that you can show them a home, whether that's a starter home, a move-up home. There are opportunities out there. But what we want to do now, is, what Sandra's going to cover, is, well, what does this mean for that? Because right now it seems like maybe affordability, I have to save 20% for a down payment, I can't purchase a home. So what we want to put in your hands is that knowledge that there are programs out there that you can be communicating to your buyers. And Sandra's going to cover those. Sandra, so take it from here.
All right, thanks. So yeah, instead of Ghostbusters, we're going to call Mythbusters because we've got to get rid of that myth of I have to have 20% down to get in a house. No way, no how. It's great if they've got that extra money, but they don't have to wait because it could, depending on what area of the country, it could maybe take them 20 plus years to save up enough money to have 20% down to get into a house. And that's where Home Possible comes into play. Our Home Possible, if you could advance, our Home Possible is our signature low down payment mortgage, our 3% down to be able to allow your clients to be able to get into a home, another option outside of FHA. Now, I will have to give a quick plug here. If you do have a veteran, make sure that they utilize their VA benefits because that way they can get into those homes with zero down, 100% financing, etc. That's number one if they are a veteran. Outside of that, Home Possible, talk to your lenders about that. And let's talk a little bit about what that actually benefits of that to your client. Number one, it is your low down payment mortgage. Again, able to get in on a 1-unit, 2-unit, 3-unit, or a 4-unit property using our Home Possible, right? Up to a 97% loan to value for a 1-unit property. But if you are a real estate professional that works in like 2 to 4 markets, 2 to 4 properties, for example, here in Chicago where I am, 2 to 4s are huge in this market, right? You can do a 95% 4-unit financing on a property using Home Possible here. What? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it's a huge benefit to that. If there is an affordable second, you can go up to a 105 total loan to value on a 1-unit property. Could you go back a slide, please? Thank you, ma'am. Again, 1-unit property, 97 and 105 LTV total loan to value. If it's a 2 to 4-unit property, it would be a 95%. Again, 5% down only is required. Flexible sources of funds. So the funds could be coming to use for down payment. They don't have to have any of their own funds into the transaction. Could all be coming from a gift, maybe down payment assistance, because there's a ton of down payment assistance that's available in various markets. And put a pin in that because we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So to talk about where you can find some of that available down payment assistance. And it can be gifted as well. That private mortgage insurance. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of what private mortgage insurance is. It is required on Home Possible, but it is a lesser amount. And as compared to FHA, you know what? When we look at that, for FHA, if you're doing an FHA loan, they have to have that 1.75 MIP up front financed in, so that's already eating into their equity when they do that. And then it's fine. You have to pay a monthly premium forever when you do that, right? With conventional, you don't have that. It's on there for a certain period of time, and then once enough equity has been built up, your client can call the servicer and have it eliminated. That's huge. That's huge, right? Our Home Possible is not limited to a first-time home buyer only, so it can be a repeat borrower, okay? For those of you, depending on your market, if you happen to sell or work with clients that are purchasing manufactured housing, you can use our Home Possible as well and can finance up to 95% with that, okay? Finance using Home Possible on your manufactured housing. It does allow for non-traditional credit because, let's face it, some folks just believe in doing everything by cash, right? They're a cash and carry type of borrower or client, right? And that's okay. We understand that. It does allow for it. Typically, you're going to find that more generationally or culturally. I know my mom was a Depression-era kid, so they did a lot of cash stuff, right? And they kept money at home. And that's the type of thing that you'll see. Because we do believe in responsible and sustainable home ownership, we do require a homebuyer education piece of this when all borrowers or all your clients, if everybody that's on that loan is a first-time home buyer, they do have to take a homebuyer education class. Now, I don't know about you guys. Do any of you guys like free stuff? I know I do. We do have a tutorial, and we'll show you where to find that when we get to our resources section, that they can take that. And it'll take them about a couple of hours to go through, but it does meet the homebuyer education requirement for Home Possible, and again, it is free. So let me show you how to identify, because Home Possible is income delineated at 80% of area median income. Let me show you how you can identify that. And that is through our Home Possible Income and Property Eligibility tool. Very easy to use, very interactive. Just put in the property address, and once you do, it will pop up with the information telling you what 100% of area median income is, as well as what the income limit is, okay, which is at 80% of area median income. Awesome, right? So the one thing that it also shows, there's a little link there. It says, see if this property qualifies for down payment assistance. Let's click on that link. And when you do, look where it's going to take you. It will take you out of that website and take you to a website called Down Payment Resource. This is a fabulous tool for you to be able to utilize and search through to determine if there is down payment assistance that could be utilized on the property that for either a client or the property that you have listed. So as a real estate professional, let me give you something to think about here for a second. What if, as you're listing a property, you check that property out, go to this website, go to our website first and look and see what is the 80% of area median income, and then click on this link. See what down payment assistance might be available on the house that you're listing. And think of the marketing opportunity that you could have. Do you think that might help you sell your home a little quicker? Just maybe? Things that make you go, right? But it's a great resource for you to be able to utilize. So
Sandra, I just want to interject here because I get excited about this one, right? Because when you look at the down payment resource, I did it on my personal home, And, I sold real estate for many years, and I said, oh, I'm just curious what's available in this area. And I was really surprised to see things that I was not aware of. So I love that you gave that tip about, number one, you have maybe a listing. You can go on and enter your listing address and see what's available. It lets you help more buyers that may be going or reaching out to you to go view that property, whether it's virtual now or in person. So glad you mentioned this resource. Thank you for that.
Of course, of course. I love it too. I mean, I tell you, sometimes people might think I might be working for Down Payment Resource because I sell this all the time. I love this website, this company. So up next, so why are we going to choose Home Possible over FHA? Oh, I think we talked about a lot of this, right? The MI, the mortgage insurance, it can be canceled once you're at 80%. Okay, so if you're in an area where the property is increasing with equity, it can then call their servicer and have it canceled. Where FHA, it stays on forever. Conventional, you do have the monthly premium, or FHA, you've got the upfront and the monthly. There is no upfront on the Home Possible. And again, what you're doing with FHA, you're already eating into the equity when you're using that. I'm going to give another little tip here as well. And I'm sorry, this is where I just love so much that down payment resource. Let's say you found a lot of down payment assistance, for example. What if there's an option for mortgage insurance where you could pay the whole premium up front? The client could pay the whole premium up front, and that way they don't have any monthly premium at all. It's called a single premium mortgage insurance. So that way they get it out of the way up front, and it gives them more qualifying power to buy a house, and they effectively have a 97 loan with no mortgage insurance on it. Again, things to think about there. No, it doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer. No. Nope. Can be a repeat. So our next piece, and I know, I'm sorry, I get a little passionate about this. I'm talking too much. So what if, again, Home Possible is income delineated at 80% of area median income? But what if you've got a client that makes more than that, and they still just want to put 3% down because they haven't been able to save a lot of money? We've got an option for that too, and that's our Home One mortgage. It's going to look and feel exactly like Home Possible, with the exception of at least one client does have to be a first-time home buyer, and there is no income limit. Okay, that's the main difference between those two.
Sandra, I think this one of the reasons, and this is a newer product. It's maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years old, roughly, right? Give or take. And one of the reasons full transparency, Sandra's based out of Chicago. I'm based out of Long Island, New York. And we're in a very high-cost area, high-cost market. So we may have many individuals that may not qualify for that 80% or below of the average median income because, it's not affordable. Maybe they're recent graduates, they're making, good money, good incomes, but they're still struggling for that down payment. And I think this was a great opportunity when Freddie Mac put this out there, Sandra, to really expand those 3% option for those individuals that fall into that category, really opening more doors for more buyers and more opportunities for their lenders and the realtor partners that we have.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is a fabulous program, so great option out there. Another piece to just touch on, because I'm watching the time and I'm also wanting to make sure not to run too much over. Again, we do know in our markets here, the housing stock is older, right? So when they're purchasing, maybe you've got a client that's handy, right? And maybe they don't have a lot of cash, but because they're handy, they can use their labor, that sweat equity, to use as down payment. Yeah, you can do that. And that can be their whole down payment piece towards the purchase of that property. Maybe they want to do a rehab in their kitchen or rehab the bathroom before they move in. This is a great tool for them to be able to utilize using that sweat equity as down payment. We do have a lot of other products that we are working on, and just because of time, just a high-level piece. We do have our choice renovation products, our manufactured housing suite, which is the standard manufactured housing, as well as our choice home. Green Choice, which is our energy efficiency product that we have, and then working with community land trust. So we are working with a lot of innovative innovative mortgage products. And we're going to show you where you can find a lot of those resources to get a lot more detail around all of that here in just the next few slides. And with that,
thank you.
Yes.
And actually on that note, Sandra, before I start talking about the resources, we are going to have two, as Young mentioned. This is part one of a three-part webinar series. So stay tuned if you want to learn more in-depth information about those other products, because Sandra, you did say something really important, and that is we do have a large, I think numbers are about 40% of housing in America is an aged housing. So we do need to find solutions for those buyers who may want to make some of those, green choice or, modifications to that property to make it their home. So we will be focusing on bringing you subject matter experts that are going to be speaking to those products on the next one. So please make sure that you log on with us for the next two webinars, and you'll have a plethora of information once you're done with the three-part series. So I'm going to go right in because of time. I want to make sure we want to give you the business resources. So now that you have all this information of the basic products that are available within Freddie Mac on the affordable side, which Sandra talked about, Home Possible, Home One, really focusing on that 3%, 80% or lower AMI, average medium income for Home Possible, or Home One, still a 3% option for those that are above that average medium income. We went over the demographics, the growing and the shifting demographics of America. We went over the aging population, the millennials, and we also discussed the mortgage-ready opportunities for you to help those borrowers. But we also know that there's a lot of myth, and Sandra, you covered that. You talked about the myth of the 20% down payment and how long it would take individuals to save for 20% down payment versus a 3% down payment loan. Being able to remove that PMI, that's incredible because you have now you can remove that PMI and you're gaining equity. And if prices continue to increase, that equity will be attained sooner, right? So therefore, removing that, they're starting in a much more equitable position. But now what does this mean for you, and how can you leverage to share this information without having to type notes or create your own PowerPoint slides? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Many of you have a very big network of either past customers who have those millennials still living at home that are looking to understand the buying or renting process as they're forming those households, right? So that's a correlation to the data that we just shared with you. How do you stay in front of those? How can you help them, educate them, and maybe break down the barriers and the myth of that homeownership is not attainable for them? My Home is a consumer-facing website that Freddie Mac has created. There's no advertisements of any lenders, of any realtors. It is strictly consumer-facing. And what this does is allows you to really share this data on your social media feeds. You can share the website. You can have this at the bottom of your email address. You can share this with the folks that maybe show up at your open house, again, post-COVID, and let them know that you want to keep them informed. Again, your past customers, let them know you may have millennials that are looking to form their own household. This is a great resource. There's quizzes, there's videos, and it talks about not only owning a home or preparing to buy a home, it talks about renting and what they need to know. And it also gives them the option of entertaining a potential refinance if that is an option for them. Or now during COVID or even post-COVID or pre-COVID, if they are having hardships, they can look at the foreclosure alternatives, and there's a whole module on here as well. So this is how I would use it if I was in the business today and selling real estate. I would definitely send send this out to my network, put it on social media, and include this in my email signature, as well as direct email follow-ups with maybe prospective buyers that you're working with. The other thing that I would share in terms of resources is you have Home Possible and Home One, as well as other first-time home buyer programs that are out there, whether that's grants or just a different type of loan that's a first-time home buyer loan. Many of them require an home buyer education. Homebuyer U was launched December 2019 with that purpose. It's a free home buyer education, which with Home Possible and Home One will fulfill that home buyer education requirement. What I really like about this is that the individual, I took this, is really very interactive, has quizzes, has videos as well. When they leave there, it talks about money management, understanding the process. But really what I like from a business side is that when they're completed their certificate, towards the end, they're going to get asked if they would like to share electronically the completion of the course and the certificate with anyone. So that could be their realtor and their lender. So automatically you would get, if you let them know, put my email when you're done so that I know you've completed, and that continues that interaction with you and that buyer. Because now you gave them a resource for education, they have a certificate which will fulfill that first-time homebuyer education requirement. Plus, on top of that, now they're emailing you. You know they're engaged with you. You know they're committed to working with you because they've given you access to that as well. So great tool. If you have time, take it yourself. I think you'll find it very interactive. CreditSmart, it's one of my favorites. This is where, I show my true colors. I am very passionate about education. But CreditSmart is not necessarily a home buyer education curriculum. Is actually a financial education curriculum, a little different than the Homebuyer U. CreditSmart specifically is really to prepare future borrowers. Great pipeline to build your buyer's business. What I love about this is 12 modules. It's very detailed. It has budget sheets and tons of information. But what I really like about this, in 2004, when I was still selling real estate, I wasn't working for Freddie Mac, obviously. I became certified as a CreditSmart train-the-trainer. And what that allowed me to do is that once I took the course and I passed the test, I was able to go into my community, schools, employers, library, and I can have monthly financial education events. You can actually do that in a virtual environment as well. If you become certified as a CreditSmart train-the-trainer, you can take the curriculum, you can customize the title pages, put your name, your DBA, your telephone and contact information, but you have the opportunity to download not only the presentation and all the modules, also worksheets that you can actually give to the attendees, even the virtual attendees. So we will show you where to register for the courses. We do offer them about 4 times a year, the trainer session. The consumer one, they can take it on their own self-paced. But if you want to become a certified trainer, there's no cost to you, and you can actually leverage this as a proactive buyer pipeline activity within your community.
Could I add something to that if you don't mind?
Please, go ahead. Yeah.
So to your point, we do have one coming up starting in July. So we could send that link out so they can register for anyone that's interested. Number 2, I'd also like to put up or kind of tie something together as well. So on the slide when you were talking about the Mortgage Ready folks, the Mortgage Ready and the Mortgage Week, my question and challenge to you as a real estate professional, what are you doing with the Mortgage Week folks? Because, when you do have a client that comes to you and, they're all enthused, they're ready to buy now, and they hear a no. It's like, no, don't tell them a no. As one of my, I quote somebody that I heard at a housing counseling conference a couple years ago. Tell them it's a soft yes, because words really do matter. Because if somebody is coming to you and they're so motivated, they want to buy a house right now, but yet, okay, for whatever reason, there's some issues. This is where that CreditSmart financial, those modules could be so helpful as you can help build them up to keep them ready, and team up with your lender or your a nonprofit housing counselor to work in that space to get those mortgage weak to a mortgage ready. And you know who's going to be the hero when that happens, right? It's you, baby.
Absolutely. Just like, because I know I see a question, can you please send the information on how to register for the July classes? Monica, I don't know if you're on mute or if you're able to drop that in, but if you're not able to drop it in, one of the ways that you can register, I'm glad that the question is asked because they are unique registration links, because they need to make sure that you're taking the full 4 courses. They're 1-hour courses, 1 week after the other, so a commitment of 4 weeks for just 1 hour. You do need to complete all 4 so that you can pass the quiz and become certified. One of the ways that you'll always know that we offer them in English and we offer them one time in Spanish. You can, if you're bilingual, you can train in Spanish as well. But the best way for you to make sure that you're informed and getting the registration links is also signing up for the slide that's right in front of you, which is the Real Estate Professionals Resource Center. If you go to freddiemac.com / and I see that there's some links coming in through the chat, but if you go to freddiemac.com, thank you, Monica, I see you put the link directly to the CreditSmart overview. You'll be able to register for the upcoming class. Once you register, you can't share your registration link because it'll be directly, only uniquely to you. So make sure that if you want others to register, you forward the link that Monica just put in the chat. But if you go to the freddiemac.com Real Estate Professionals segment within the Freddie Mac, what you'll do is you'll subscribe for our subscription center. We do not spam you. We don't sell anything to you. We don't lend directly to your buyers. So really it is truly educational. There's a plethora of information, but more importantly, whenever we are having these different training sessions, this is where you will get notified, especially when we're out there in person. So the bilingual train-the-trainer, again, you have to be a licensed mortgage or a licensed real estate professional to be able to do that course. This is not consumer-facing. The train-the-trainer, it is not for consumer-facing. The other thing we want you to do is when you go to the Real Estate Pros website where you'll access the information, you can actually find marketing templates that are available and customizable for first-time home buyers. I always tell people this is a great tool. If you have a buyer packet, you can put your name, your DBA on it, but it has step-by-step guide information about the mortgage process, and you can customize these. So please make sure to access this information. On the Real Estate Professionals website as well, we have ebooks. They're a great data team and research team with Freddie Mac, and they're always looking at different data and trends. You can access them, and you can actually share them right from our website to your social media feeds. You can send this to Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. So great, take a look at what's there, and if you have extra time, and you're in your car or you're at an open house and you're wondering, I want to listen to something that's educational, we started this not so long ago, actually fall of 2019. It's called Home Starts Here, and this is a podcast that you can download either on your iTunes or Google Play, which will give you some of our thought leaders within Freddie Mac that'll tell you what's happening in the industry, and it's a really great way to stay informed of the current market. And I know we're 1 minute short, and I'm sorry I'm rushing now towards the end, but this is really important. We are here and we are open for business, as you are, not only to help move forward individuals that are looking to purchase a home, but we are committed to our mission, and that's also our response to COVID-19. And we know that you are receiving calls from your past customers, or you're reaching out to your past customers looking to provide them additional resources to help them keep them in their home. If you want to find out the latest and greatest of what's available for any individual that has a loan that's owned by Freddie Mac, I encourage you to go to the Freddie Mac COVID-19 resource page. You will have the information for both homeowners and renters. There is also a page for single family and multifamily. This will be dated to the most recent information that you can share with your customers. If you are looking to do a marketing campaign via email to your past customers, take a look at the Help Starts Here campaign. It really helps your homeowners look at what options do they have available during this hardship if they're facing a hardship, but more importantly, it helps them prepare for that conversation with their servicer, explaining to them what kind of documents, what kind of information should they have readily available to make that conversation more productive with their servicer and, in the end, give them the solutions that they need. We know at Freddie Mac that you are that trusted advisor and that critical link in your community. And with you, we count on you to leverage these resources and to be knowledgeable about the low down payment option products that are out there so that you can help more homeowners achieve homeownership and stay in their home. So I know we're at the hour mark, maybe a minute after. I hope you found this, information valuable. Our goal is to really bring this education to you. We hope that you're able to join us for our next one. Monica, not sure if you have the date for the next webinar, or Young, if you have that. I don't have that handy. But without that, I want to say, Sandra, thank you for co-presenting. You're always a wealth of knowledge, and for the participants that are online and stayed with us all the way to the end, kudos to you because you're committed to really taking in all the knowledge you can to pass this forward to your community. Young, I'll pass it over to you if you have any closing remarks or if you want to mention the date of the next webinar where we're diving into a specific product.
Yes, the next date is July 7th, and it will be at noon. You can find the link on Illinois Realtors website, and I'll try and post it in the comments if I can. Doesn't look like I'm able to send it, but we have it on our own website, and we'll be following up with everybody and send an email out. So if you received an email from us for this one, you'll receive it for the next one. So thanks again for everyone. And
tell them, pass it along. If you have somebody who you said maybe thought about registering, tell them, please join it. It was, I'm getting great comments. Thank you for that. We welcome the opportunity, and thank you so much, Young.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.